Welcome back, fellow Gothamites. I'm Derek, one of your hosts for Gotham TV Podcast.
Hi, I'm one of your other hosts, John.
And we're here with the 100 most shocking things about this episode of Gotham.
Yes, that was quite an episode. We normally do our three big surprises, but it was almost like we could do 10, 20, and with a few flaming teddy bears in for good measure. What an opening shot to see, yes. Childhood dreams up in flames.
Teddy bear on fire. I was wondering if that was Bane's teddy bear.
It could be. That might be what led him down his dark, dark path.
Exactly. But we are going to do our top 3 WTF moments, our top 3 shocking moments for this episode. Obviously, the good thing is we don't have to get all of our points in here because we have our podcast as well. Go over to GothamTVPodcast.com. We are the longest running podcast solely about Gotham. So come over there, join us. We'll have our full podcast all about this episode, all the details behind the episode. But let's get into our top 3 shocking moments for this episode. John, give us our first one.
We have Selina. She goes stabby on us and she, finds the stomach of Jeremiah. Sweet, sweet revenge. She kills Jeremiah, or does she? That is the question. Probably not, because she is rudely interrupted in her stabbing by Bruce and Alfred, who save her, throw in a smoke bomb, and of course, Jeremiah is just lying there. He looks pretty dead. He's probably had enough knife stab wounds to the gut to really kill him off.
He's like a stuck pig.
Yeah, but I suspect he might be surviving this. Or is this Jeremiah at all?
Loads,
yes.
Loads of questions.
That was your theory.
Possibly this is Clayface. This could be the clone from season 2 of Jeremiah that we saw in Indian Hill under the watchful eye of Professor Strange. So potentially that's it. Could be anybody else. Could be anybody else just made up to look like him. There's certain moments when you see Jeremiah talking to his group where he sounds very different than he did last season. But again, we haven't seen him since the start of No Man's Land. So he could be a very different character after everything that's been happening to that city. So
absolutely. But we see that he is involved with this tunnel building that we saw and by the soothsayers.
Yes.
And of course that gang leader ultimately has a bit of a knife action himself as his throat is slit by Jeremiah. And we have a really nice moment between Echo and Jeremiah, a little dance off here, where he's kind of really saying, you certainly go for quality, not quantity, and you've set the bar for devotion very, very high in terms of recruiting his followers into the cult of Jeremiah.
Yeah, they definitely use the traditional version of Joker and Harley Quinn's relationship here, where she kind of startles him when she arrives, so he throws his hand directly around her throat to choke her. So that traditional abusive relationship that so many people absolutely hate between the two of them is there at the beginning, but you also get that lovely moment where they're dancing around together and having their conversation. That's a very Joker and Harley Quinn. You see, Gotham is transferring me into saying Jeremiah instead of Joker now.
Absolutely.
But I don't think he's dead. I do think it's a hugely shocking moment to have Selina wearing the Echo costume as she stabs him to death, because you'd seen Echo walk in and out a few times, so it was quite surprising that it was Selina behind the mask, even though you knew that she was stalking the building as the wonderful Catwoman that she is now. You knew that she was stalking around the building, but it still felt like a big shock when she was the one stabbing Jeremiah and then takes the mask off.
Yeah,
Great
so
moment.
is Echo dead as well? But on to our big surprise number 2. It is the Riddler, who has been kind of groggily working his way around Gotham with slight amnesia, waking up in bins, waking up on the top of roofs, not really knowing what he's doing, trying to piece together his movements. But we have this cryptic number 1215. What is it? It seems like it's a inmate's number for Arkham. Is it for the other prison in Gotham as well? And
Blackgate,
Blackgate. And we follow the Riddler around, but ultimately 1215 leads to an apartment overlooking Haven and allows for certain wheelchair access, shall we say. Yes, it certainly does. We have a nice little nod to the Batman films of the late 90s, early noughties here, with Jim Carrey playing the Riddler and the death, his first kill in the Batman film. Yes. Batman second film, I think.
Batman Forever, the third. Yeah.
The third film.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really nice sort of nod to the early movies here. But ultimately, Riddler is the bomber of Haven. And dare I say it, the RPG firer of Haven.
Yes. Now, this is our second shocking moment, is that it is the Riddler that's done it, because you don't believe that Ed Nygma could be the one that would blow up Haven. We do have our theory, which we've talked about over on our podcast, that Ed is being possessed by somebody else, possibly by Lee Tompkins, who does have a little bit of a vendetta still with Jim Gordon, but I'm not too sure whether the old version of Lee Tompkins would have taken up an RPG to blow up and kill the hundreds of kids that are there as well. Shocking moment, but really bizarre that it's Ed and he doesn't know anything about it. But as we said, the other shocking moment is that he pushes an old woman out of a window in a wheelchair. Hilarious, but shocking.
Hilarious, but shocking. And surprising, but not really surprising, given Gotham does tend to do interesting kills.
Yes, but it is an interesting one, as John said, that's back from Batman Forever. Jim Carrey's first kill of his boss, puts him into a chair with wheels on it, straps him to it and throws him out the window of the office building that they're working in. So very similar. Apparently the shots are almost exactly the same. The director used it as reference as well, so it's definitely an intended reference, but a very cool one and a very shocking moment. I'm really surprised that we're getting this version of Ed Nygma this season. It's great to see a very dark version of him, but I'm really interested to see what's happening with his story. I think next episode he will be going to pay a visit to Professor Strange, so I think we're going to find out a little bit more about what's happening with those two characters.
But on to our third big surprise. Yes, we get the snog of all snogs, with Jim and Babs embracing passionately, having their kiss, reuniting together. Yes, shocking, but I think more of a violent embrace. This seemed less loving, more a lot of things needed to be done and said here. Yeah,
like obviously we've gone through 4 seasons of Gotham so far. We're in our 5th season now, and we haven't had a season where Jim hasn't had a girlfriend or hasn't had a relationship in the show. You kind of thought, the world is crashing down around him, and Barbara's turned up to the GCPD to tell him, you're doing a good job kind of thing. And to come on to him, basically, to say, let's rekindle our relationship, and Jim's kind of kicking her out. But yes, we have this moment here where the two of them reunite and get back together again, really, for the first time since season 1, because she has been really crazy over the years. There's another universe in this version of the show where she could have been with Renee Montoya. Still at this stage, Barbara Keane could have continued on with that relationship, which she was cheating on Jim behind his back in the original pilot. So there's always been a very weird relationship between the two of them. She's dressed up in a wedding dress and tried to kill him and Lee. She's always had these weird moments with her. But are we seeing the kind of return to a saner Babs now that everything else is crawling down around her? Does she just look really sane in this version of Gotham?
It kind of looks like that. I think, whether it is Babs actually becoming saner or whether just relative to the craziness and chaos of Gotham, she looks like she's got a plan and a bit of sense on those their shoulders. Who knows? But certainly she is toning down from the crazy Barbara that we saw in season 2, I think. But then she's had a lot to sober her up and to focus her mind with the loss of Tabitha. This ongoing tension, romantic tension really between Jim. It's always been there. And of course, yes, she also lost Montoya in season 1.
And she's died twice. That probably does mess with your brain a little bit.
I forgot about that one. She has also passed to the other side and returned and been imbued with a powerful, magical spirit or gas of some description from Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, a lot here.
Absolutely. That's our top 3 of our moments. Obviously, we still have to talk about the guillotining. We still have to talk about the return of Zaz, the people of Gotham turning on Jim and going over to the Penguin. Loads more to talk about. Come over and join us, GothamTVPodcast.com, or go to any good or evil podcast catcher. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're over on there, and on Stitcher. Find us on there under Gotham TV Podcast, the longest running podcast about Gotham, and you'll hear all of our thoughts and loads of feedback from our fellow Gothamites.
Loads of feedback from fellow Gothamites. So come on, join us. Can't wait to get into the discussion of these massive surprises.
Absolutely. Bye. See you next week.